So there it is, guys, a 458 Challenge Evo build. Lots and lots of work ahead for me.
We can finally pull the front bumper completely off.
So that's what a 458 looks like with the Challenge Evo front splitter. It's all set up and ready to go.
This is the moment of truth. Perfect, look at that. Yes! The level of depth that you can see now is just insane. The weave looks so sick. So this is a factory Challenge Evo bumper and well, definitely needs some help. I'm absolutely impressed with how they were able to bring this thing back from the dead. What is up, guys? My name is Brent Ruiz and welcome to one of the most special videos I'll probably ever do on my YouTube channel. And welcome to the Marconi Museum here in Southern California, probably one of the most impressive supercar collections and race car collections in the state. If you haven't heard of this place, Dick Marconi, a very successful businessman, after building up his massive supercar collection in 1994, he donated everything, including this building which he used as storage for those vehicles, to charity. And these charities are all focused on helping at-risk youth here in California and elsewhere. An absolutely amazing cause. And as you can see by the vehicles surrounding me, Ferrari F40, Ferrari F50, all the other legendary vehicles here, including some very, very special and historic race cars, including some Formula One cars, even one driven by Ayrton Senna. 70 plus cars are part of this collection, and I am just incredibly honored to be able to do the very first walk around of my Ferrari 458 Challenge Evo here in the middle of Marconi Museum. What an absolute honor, and thank you again to Marconi Museum for letting us do this today. Now, before we continue on, if you have not yet seen the reveal video for this car, first link in the description below, go check it out. We spent a lot of time and effort on that, and I think it came out pretty awesome. So go check it out before you watch this video. But if you have already, let's begin with the walk around of this car. Now, first of all, context-wise, this is a Challenge Evo conversion on a street Ferrari 458. The first time this has ever been done, which I was actually very, very surprised to hear about. Now, as you guys might know, there are about 5 or 6 street legal GT3 builds, but this is the first Challenge Evo. This is probably the most viable build that you can build as a track car, but still make it street legal. It was a massive struggle, first of all, to find all of these parts, and I think that's why nobody has ever done this before. The only way to come across parts like this, to build a car like this, is through, number one, Ferrari racing teams. If they'll sell it to you, you have to have a hookup at one of those racing teams to be able to source these parts. Or you can possibly get lucky and go on eBay and try to find a car that has been retired or crashed, parted out, which I actually did on this build. Some of the parts are from crashed race cars, and hopefully if you get lucky, you can find them that way. Now, ever since I started this build, I've gone on eBay and tried to find parts like this, and they are nowhere to be found. Now, another reason why this build is so rare today is because this is the 458. Today, they're running the 488 in the Challenge series, and they'll probably move on to the F8 platform, possibly even the SF90 platform soon. So ever since the 348, with every V8 mid-engine model that has come out, Ferrari has used that vehicle as the main vehicle for the Ferrari Challenge Racing series. and this is the 458 variant. With this build, there were a couple primary focuses for me. Number one, I wanted it to not only be a show car. Now with this, my dream has always been, well, first of all, this is my dream car, the Ferrari 458. But my ultimate dream was really to have a race car like this that I can still drive on the street, that I can drive it to the track and drive it back home. So in terms of the build, let's go ahead and start the walk around. But first, you probably notice a somewhat ridiculous wrap on the car. Yes, I know, it is kind of insane. But I wanted to have something insane for at least the reveal video and first few months of running this car. I am already working on a new wrap, believe it or not, and that's gonna be more of the traditional race style livery, but it's still gonna be very, very different and kind of insane as well. But this wrap, I'm incredibly proud of. It took so much time to create as well. So much so that I created its own dedicated video, which is going to be the next video on my channel. So please subscribe, hit that bell icon if you have not already, so you get notified of when I release this video. Let's continue on. First and foremost, this is a carbon fiber front bumper. It looks pretty similar to the stock bumper on the 458, but the main difference with this is that it has this third grille in the front face, which is obviously there to allow for more cooling coming through the bumper. When I first got this bumper, I was actually kind of going back and forth between doing a gloss finish or matte finish, and I went with the gloss just because it pops a lot more. And in terms of making this bumper, I actually bought it without having any of the mesh grills that came with it. So I actually had to source the mesh grills and install them myself, which I did. Even the Ferrari badge here in the center did not come, I had to source that. And now we come down to the front splitter, also made fully of carbon fiber. This is not just a lip. This thing is actually probably as tall as I am. It actually covers most of the front half of the car. That massive piece of carbon fiber that low to the ground really does provide a lot of extra downforce. Now, the only really non-authentic part of this build is the hood. This is the Speciale style hood. And that's just because the Speciale style hood, I think, just looks that much more awesome, especially when you look at it from the front. I mean, it just looks so much more aggressive. Now, the standard Ferrari 458 Challenge hood that they use is just the standard one that comes with the 458, except with some hood latches. So I wanted to change it up a bit, and this does look a lot more awesome. Now, this hood was actually cause for a lot of the delay of the build because it just would not fit right with this bumper for some reason. And we had to do so much body work and molding even to get this thing to look remotely right with the car. And SOS Customs in Oceanside, California, they actually did a lot of that work, the body work, to make this fit properly. So that's the front end of the car. Now let's move on to the wheels, the tires, and the suspension. So big shout out Brixton Forged for sponsoring me on these amazing looking wheels. And the wheels play such a large role in a build like this because they really have to match the style of the build. So these ultra lightweight race style wheels, the R11Rs in this semi-gloss titanium finish, I think are the perfect match. And I think the color themselves matched up with the yellow calipers really complements the wrap. And these wheels, as you can see here, are wrapped in the Pirelli Trofeo R tires, pretty much the most track-focused Pirelli tire that you can get on a street car with still keeping it street legal. Now that being said, I was actually at one point considering doing a full center lock conversion on the car. But in the end, I decided that it was just way too expensive and way too much trouble to do, seeing as how it cost $25,000 to get those center lock hubs from Ferrari, and you would also have to go down to a 19-inch wheel at the same time. So it was really just too much hassle for what it's worth. But that being said, I didn't stop at the wheels in terms of changing the suspension on this car. This car is actually running the authentic Challenge race car shocks, which give it a lot stiffer ride. You can really feel it. Actually, that's probably the one thing that you'll notice, how incredibly stiff the ride in this car is now. And if you're familiar with the 458 and other modern Ferraris, a lot of these cars come with this bumpy road mode button on the steering wheel, which this car has. Usually that button will allow you to soften the dampers on the car, giving you a much more plush ride. I still have the button, but it does not do anything anymore. As you can imagine, it's always stiff all the time now with this new suspension, but it does help a ton on the track. All right, moving on back, I'm gonna open the engine bay for you guys. Actually, since I'm already here, let's talk about the interior real quick. So One thing I want to say about a build like this is the importance of the base car that you do the build on. I think this spec really lends itself to a race car build like this, just from all of the OEM carbon fiber options that this car already came with. The race style bucket seats, it came with all of the carbon fiber here, the door sills, the side skirts, all of the carbon fiber in the interior, except for the dashboard trim. That's the only carbon fiber trim piece that this car does not have. But most importantly, it came with the carbon fiber engine bay trim. And as you can see, this car is the only one in the world with the authentic carbon fiber manifold covers. This came straight from the race car, and I believe this is the only car that has these covers. Incredibly rare to find, and I'm so lucky to have them on the car. And if at any time during this video you're asking yourself, how much did all of these parts cost? Check out the other video on my channel. I'll actually link it as a card here in the video. It gives you a full breakdown of everything that I paid and how much money I actually saved sourcing them the way that I did. Now, towards the bottom of this engine bay, it's hiding some FABSPEED headers into FABSPEED test pipes into the amazing S-line exhaust for the 458, which produces this incredible high-pitch F1 style sound that I think no other car can really match. Now, the other thing I did with the exhaust just for this build is CFI Designs. They built me these titanium exhaust tips, which are pretty extended out from the rear bumper here. But these tips really give it that much more aggressive race car look. And now that we're already down here, this hole right here is actually missing the tow hook, as you might notice, which I still have to add. It has to be welded to the chassis back there. So that's missing the tow hook, but that's gonna be fixed very, very soon. And then at the very bottom here, you can see the OEM carbon fiber rear diffuser. And that's all attached to this authentic Challenge Evo rear bumper. Now, this has a story or two to it. This actually was sourced from a crashed Challenge Evo car. And I gotta give a massive shout out to California Motorsports Body Shop in San Diego, California for doing the repair work on this bumper. I'll put some pictures of how it was when I received it. And that's just how hard it was for me to find these parts. That was the only rear bumper I could find in the world from a crashed race car, and I had to repair it. So at the same time, I was actually considering using my stock rear bumper and just cutting these slits for the rear wing, but I was lucky enough to find this when I did, and the repair work wasn't too big of a deal. It was a good amount of work still, but that being said, we did not have to cut anything else on the rear bumper because these slits are already here for the rear wing brackets. Now, talking about these rear wing brackets, fully adjustable, I think this might even be more rare than these carbon fiber intake manifold covers. These are incredibly hard to find, and they cost $8,000 for these two pieces of aluminum and the cross brace that goes across. $8,000, new from Ferrari. It's ridiculous, I know. But I was lucky enough to find them, and they are welded to the chassis of the car, and they are attached to this GT3 style variant of the Challenge Evo rear wing. Now, it's a GT3 style variant because it is about 3 inches wider on either side, and it has this lip that comes up to the center and back down on either side as well. So it does give it a lot more presence when you look at the car from the rear. The rear wing really fills out the rear end of the car a lot better than the standard Challenge Evo rear wing. And just showing you guys the interior real fast. When you look in there and you see those race style bucket seats, it really does lend itself to the build. And when you get in, you really feel like you're entering a race car. So I'm really, really happy, first of all, to have the car already coming from the factory like this and being able to add the Challenge Evo kit to the car, doing the build in the way that we did it, fully authentic, well, as much as we can at least, and still keeping it street legal. And for those of you who might be asking why I didn't do any of the interior stuff to make it really, really authentic, it's because that would really impact a lot of the drivability. I still want to be able to drive this car on the street in some comfort, and that's another reason why we did not touch the interior. Now, the other thing you might have noticed is how low the car is now. And with that new front splitter, there is no way that I am driving this car on the street, especially like going up driveways and things like that, without completely destroying my front splitter. So to alleviate that, I had to install this air cup lift system just here in the front. It's by a company called Stance Parts. They're based in the Netherlands, and this is how it works. The kit was actually installed by my friends at DEITY Motorsports, also here in Orange County, California. All you have to do is just press this button button here, it'll turn red and the front end will start to lift. So the car does have to be on to be able to lift it, but it does not have to be on to drop it. And the cool thing about when it drops is that it does it instantly. So, shout out Stan Sparks for this killer air cup kit. My car would not be drivable on the street without it, that's for sure. It's pretty much the only aftermarket mod that we had to do on the car just to maintain its street drivability. So there it is, guys, the world's first 458 Challenge Evo conversion on a street 458. Super, super happy to have my car back finally. And man, just having it here in an amazing place, truly an honor. Again, I have to give a massive thank you to Marconi Museum, who also do a lot of charity work for at-risk youth here in the Orange County, Southern California area. If you don't mind, please send them a donation. I'm going to link them in the description below, marconimuseum.org/donate. Donate to them and really give them some support, because this is all really awesome in terms of the car collection here, but at the end of the day, the cause that's behind it, helping those children, that's what it's all about. So with that being said, I also have to give a massive shout out to everyone who was responsible or who contributed to this build in any way. I'm linking them all in the description of this video as well, so check them out. Massive shout out to everyone responsible for the bodywork, California Motorsports, the wraps, Lion Labs, and Paul Gambino, the artist who drew this wrap, Brixton Forged with the wheels, Pirelli for the Trofeo R. Pirelli, sponsor me please. CFI Designs, who helped me source many of the parts of this kit and who did the titanium exhaust tips. S-Line Sound for the amazing soundtrack for this car. SOS Customs, who helped me with a lot of the bodywork on the hood. Stan Sparks for the air cup lift on the car. Man, I'm probably missing somebody, but it was a journey and we're finally done with it. And I'm going to drive the crap out of this thing on the street and on the track. So if you want to see this car, just follow me on Instagram. I'm gonna post wherever I take this car to, cars and coffee shows and whatnot. And I think that's gonna be it for the video, guys. If you enjoyed it, please give it a big fat like. Consider subscribing to the channel if you wanna see all of my adventures with this car. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Deuces!